6:31.
Yeah, mine really is a time.
It keeps on ticking. Remember John Cameron Swayze?
I sure do.
Oh, there it
Sure.
Remember him?
Who did have?
John Cameron
Yeah, I think the
Swayze.
batteries are too
Yes.
dead.
He used to do the
There's
tires.
not a random. Yeah.
Tied the watches to the boat collar. It's crazy.
Drop it off the Empire State Building.
Keeps on ticking.
Takes a licking and keeps
Keeps on
on.
ticking. Oh, this is weird. Look at it.
All right, who we missing? Nobody. Hangs all here.
Hey Leila, can you give me one of
Paul
those
was doing
orders?
with the online first.
Tom, is that your order?
No, it was sitting
No, I
there.
think you picked it up.
Not sure whose it
I
is.
saw you pick one up,
Yeah, I
Tish.
did pick one.
Careful opening, those are those funny tops that splash
Can
sometimes.
you get this open for me, please?
Go to Mexico City tomorrow
What?
for a
Vacation?
wedding.
Oh,
And my brother's only child. I have to go. I really don't want to go.
sure.
I'll be back on Monday, unless we can get on there
Hope so.
Sunday. The problem is, flights, you know, so. It's supposed to
Why
be,
Mexico City? Do they live there?
her fiance's going.
He's gonna make sure he
He
signs
lives
it
very
before he
near.
leaves. He knows.
Well,
Who's that, Scott or?
Yeah, no, Scott did it. Everybody's done it.
Everybody's done
I went and did it too. and-
oh, no, they're gonna live.
Yeah, I
they live
just
in-
signed.
In Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
No, they're actually Brooklyn. But they already got married in the United States.
You wanna?
So they got to do it down there to keep the
His
in-laws
family.
happy.
Well, they just had a little ceremony up there. They're 35. They didn't go through all like blah, 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 you know?
Smart people.
Yeah.
This is your meeting.
Ready to go, guys?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Paul, okay for the online part?
Yes.
All right, it's a little past 6:30. I'm going to call the Hainesport Township Joint Land Use Board meeting for October 2nd, 2024 to order. We'll have a flag salute initially. Please stand. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm Tom McKay. I'm the vice chair presiding over the meeting tonight. Can we have a reading of the Sunshine Law, please?
Notice of this meeting was published in accordance to the Open Public Meetings Act.
Excuse me.
Careful. You're at the end of your rope, so to speak. All right. Are we all set with microphones then? Yes, sir. We have a new appointee to be sworn in,
We have two.
two. We only have one resolution. We have one alternate and one regular member, correct?
The resolution, Hainesport Township Resolution 2024-141-9 appoints Richard Gus Bradley as a regular member, the Class 4, and then we have two alternate members. Class 4 alternate number 1 would be Richard Murphy. Class 4 alternate number 4 would be Thomas, you said Micaiah? Mackay, okay.
All right. Would both of you please stand up and be sworn?
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and the governments established in the United States and in this state, under authority of the people, that you will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of office of Hainesport Township Joint Land Use Board member according to the best of your ability. Thank you. Congratulations.
We also have to swear in Mr. Bradley, too, right?
No, Mr. Bradley was sworn in when he was the beginning of the year,
Oh, all right.
so he doesn't have to be
So
sworn
you're just
in.
elevating him, basically?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right. We announce regularly, and we'll do it tonight, that we have no new business after 10:30 PM. That means that we won't start any matter after 10:30 PM. So now that we have our two new alternate members and our new regular member, can we have a roll call?
Mrs. Torti,
Here.
Mrs. Kelly,
Here.
Mayor Gilmore,
Here.
Mr. Tricocci,
Here.
Mrs. Baggio,
Here.
Mr. C. Murphy,
Yes. Here.
Ms. Cosco. Here. Mr. Bradley,
Here.
Mr. Novarita, absent, Mr. Holden, absent, Mr. R. Murphy. Here. Mr. McKay. Here. Mr. McKay.
Here. All right. We next have to deal with two nominations because of the resignation due to personal reasons of Mr. Crowpfeiffer. We need to replace the chair, and so at this point, I will call for nominations for the chairperson for the balance of this year. So it's just from today till our reorganization meeting in January.
I'd like to nominate Tom McKay.
I'll second.
Second. All right, are there other nominations? All right, can we have unanimous consent for closing the nominations? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? All right, so the nominations are closed. Take a vote, please.
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore,
Yes.
Mrs. Torti,
Yes.
Mr. Bradley.
Yes.
Mr. Tricocci.
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio.
Yes.
Mr. C. Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Cosco.
Yes.
And Mr. McKay.
Yes, thank you for placing your confidence in me. Let's do the same for the vice chair position. May I have a nomination for vice chair for the balance of this year?
Let's nominate Mr. Tricocci.
I second.
Do I hear any other nominations? Do I have consent unanimously to close the nominations? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. All right, let's take a vote, please.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio,
Yes.
Mrs. Torti,
Yes.
Mr. Bradley,
Oh, yeah.
Mayor Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Tricocci,
Yes.
Mr. C. Murphy, we already voted, sorry, Ms. Cosco.
Yes.
And Mr. McKay.
Yes.
You didn't call me, but I say yes.
Okay, Mrs. Kelly, I thought I did, sorry.
Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Chikoshi.
Thank you.
Sure you look forward to the day.
Looking forward to it.
I
A
don't,
little bit of a surprise, but
that's all right, people have faith in you.
Murphy.
You can do it.
All right, let me deal with the items for business today. Now, I noticed Mr. DeLee is here. Are we moving forward on that today?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Congratulations to those of you who were appointed or taking up a higher position. Here's the issue that I have, Mr. McCain. First of all, I have a couple of documents.
All right, this is case 23-06A, JDEB Marne Highway LLC. It's scheduled for final site plan review, but I just called you up because I had a feeling that we weren't going to proceed tonight.
Well, I'm going to tell you what my problem is and ask you how you want to handle it. If I have to go tonight, I am ready. I think the better practice would be to give us a chance to work out issues that were in the review letters. I received the review letters late, Friday and Monday, and we haven't had an awful lot of time to review them. We believe there are resolutions that we could work out with your professionals in a meeting with them. We have met with them before to make sure that we're all on the same page and we know what we're doing. There's also an issue that there may be with regard to a variance, and there's some question, I'd have to work that out with Mr. Kingsbury, as to whether or not an additional notice would be necessary. I don't think it would, but I don't want to go through a whole hearing and then find out that, like I say, I believe that if we go forward tonight, this is going to be a very, very long meeting because there's an awful lot of questions that he has raised that we have answers for, but it's going to involve a little give and take. However, if you give me an opportunity and give my professionals an opportunity to sit and work with your professionals, I think we can come in with a consensus that will make the meeting far more efficient and far better for everyone.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, because I did my homework this afternoon on this, and I've got pages and pages and pages of questions.
When I read the review letters, I normally put notes in the margin, and I ran out of room. They're legitimate questions. I'm not criticizing the letters by any means, but there were a lot more questions. And again, I think we can answer them rather efficiently if I had the chance to, had time to talk to the professionals. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Chairman.
Is the property, no, you didn't interrupt me. Is the property still under lease by the applicant?
Yes, it is.
And so he has never consummated a sale at this point?
He has not. Let me just, so I can fill in that blank for you. The agreement provides that we are required to close after we receive all land use approvals, okay? So we're not under an obligation to complete the purchase of it. And it's a little bit of a catch-22 because we want to get started. We're as anxious as everybody else to get this done because we want to get started cleaning up the site and making improvements and what have you. And it's difficult to say, all right, I'm going to improve this, but I never know if I'm going to be able to do what I have to do here. So we are anxious to move forward, and yes, we are still under agreement. I spoke with the seller's attorney earlier today to explain him what I was going to do tonight and how I was going to do it. And we're all on that. We're all on the same page. We would like to get this done as soon as we can. And,
all right, the seller is the estate of Mrs. Rife, or
that's correct. That's correct.
Is there a representative of the estate here tonight
Not
that you're aware of?
I am one of the inheritors, yes.
You are. Would you come forward, please, and state your name and be sworn? Mr. DeLee, I just want to ask a couple of questions, just to flesh out the record.
We're perfectly fine.
Sir, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Sorry to pull you out of the audience without,
Okay.
Without fair warning.
Crowded room.
Yeah. Can you give us your name?
Tom Bartow?
Oh, you're Mr. Bartow?
Yes.
Okay, and just for the record, just explain your relationship to the estate.
Estelle Rife is my grandmother.
All right, and you're
Kathleen Rife White is my mother.
you're a beneficiary under the trust?
Yes.
Okay. You heard what Mr. D'Elia proposed. You have any objection to this?
From what I understand, there is not a valid lease in place. It is, I don't know the terminology, he has not maintained the lease in accordance with what was agreed to. I thought Mr. Applegate was going to be here this evening. Apparently, he's not. So I'm
That's
not
you?
sure what's going on.
That's the trust attorney you're referring to?
Yes, Kid Applegate.
And he's from where, Medford?
I guess so, I don't know.
Okay.
I've never met him.
And what, can you say the lease is, he's no longer, Mr. Kennedy's no longer in compliance with the lease? What do
He
you
has
mean?
he has done nothing to continue with the environmental cleanup like he's supposed to. There were things that were supposed to be done in accordance with that in a timely manner. They've all expired. We are liable now for whatever comes down the road there. The lease that they are talking about was only for a year, my understanding, and that's expired. He just does pay the taxes, but he does not pay us any revenue for being on the property anymore. He does not maintain the property at all anymore, as you can see by the pictures.
All right, I misspoke. It's Mr. Livingston, not Mr. Kennedy. All right, do you have anything to add to what you've just told me?
Other than I live on 2 Spruce Lane, which is right across the street from the property. I have a test well on my property, so my concern about the remediation is paramount since my property is affected by it. And as one of the inheritors, we're tired of him. We want him gone. We just want him gone so I can clean the place up and we can start over again. We don't believe he's going to buy the property. This is just a formality to keep carrying it on.
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Gray.
I appreciate where he's coming from, by the way. This has been a frustrating thing for the seller as well as us. We've had a lot of issues here. Number one, the contract requires, it specifically states, that closing will be X number. I haven't looked at it in a while, so I'm going by memory, but this much I do know. I don't believe I have a copy here. Do you have it?
Yeah.
Can I see it from a minute?
I got some highlighted points for you.
I'm sorry?
I have some highlighted points in there for you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll read that off.
Mr. D'Elia, just, you're paging through that, but you can listen to me at the same time. I don't know that it serves any purpose to have a debate over whether the contract's been breached or not. It certainly hasn't been adjudicated as being breached.
Correct.
So even though there might be some contest to the validity of it at this point, that's all they are, is allegations. So we can't treat them as anything more than that for purposes of this hearing.
Right, and the one issue that there is no dispute, I mean, Mr. Applegate and I, who, by the way, may not be here tonight because when I spoke to him earlier, I believe he said he had a hearing in another town. But I talked to him about it, and I've had extensive correspondence with him about the date of closing. Part of what Tom said was right. The contract called for closing by December 31, 2023, or after all the approvals are in place. The latter of those two events. It's clear that we're still under contract. I'll be glad to give you a memo, send you the contract, give you a memo. I mean, we have standing. I'm not worried about it.
I don't think we need to debate that.
Okay.
But the issue, I think, is, and I want to have individual board members ask you questions if they have any in addition to my questions.
Sure.
But I think the issue really from both the Reif's, if I can call them, the Reif estate point of view and your point of view, is why has this dragged on as long as it has? And there may be a lot of reasons, but this application was originally filed almost a year ago.
This application for the site plan?
No, this initial application.
Correct.
For the variance, which would have included ultimately a site plan, was filed almost a year ago.
That's correct.
And we're still not even close to a site plan that is sufficient to vote on. I mean, the plan that was submitted, that I've reviewed this afternoon, and is the number of issues is pages long.
8 pages from Mr. Taylor alone.
Yeah, exactly. And another 3 or 4 from the engineer,
Correct. And there's a lot of overlap.
There is overlap.
It's a lot of pages, and I believe that many of them are easily resolved.
Well,
but I need a chance.
That may or may not be the case, but you're entitled to your chance to do that.
Thank you.
But we can't let this carry on forever.
Thank
So
you.
the question is, if this board, and I'm going to let individual members ask you questions
Sure.
before we vote, obviously. If this board gives you another month, that should be it. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I wouldn't want it to go any further than that. I want to meet with your professionals next week if I can, and then we can clean all this stuff up. And with regard to I just want to comment for the record. Yeah, I think you're right about the year ago it was applied for. I believe you are correct in that. When we got the approval for the variance, we were given a specific period of time within which to make the application for the site plan.
You were given it in February, the resolution was done in February.
Yeah.
And you were given 3 months,
And we filed on May 9th.
filed on May 9th, yes.
We filed it within the time frame. And again, you're asking me about delays. I didn't see review letters until very recently. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not allocating blame. I don't want to throw your professionals under the bus. They do a great job.
Neither am I, but this fact remains that we are almost a year from the original application for the variance, and we need to move this along.
There's one thing you and I agree on, because I got to get this done because part of this application, I got to get this done in order to be able to go to the DEP and work out all those environmental issues. And I have deadlines that I have to meet. We don't want to delay this. We're not doing this for delay. We're doing this to get an approval that's consistent with, sound planning. I don't know what else to tell you.
All right. Let me ask the board members if any of the board members have questions of Mr. D'Elia.
Yeah, I'm just curious, just my memory from the last time we were talking about, it's under contract, subject to approvals. But how long is last time Kathy told us that the operation has already been, it's not a proposed operation to clean the restaurant equipment, it's already been happening. How long has that been in operation? You've been operating the property for about a year, or?
I would say we've been operating properly since we got the approval for the variances. And we can make no secret, we were in operation before that.
I was just curious, is anything different going to happen in the property someday than is already happening now? Whatever is proposed, has it already been taking place?
Yes. You understand the question?
No, what is the question?
Try the question again, I'm sorry.
Your business,
Yes.
it's not proposed for the site, are you already operating the business on the site?
I've pretty much ceased operations at this point. I mean, right now, the place is just being storage at this point. Until this is all worked out, I pretty much have ceased operations.
Okay, yeah, the purpose of the question was, I just wanted to know how the neighbors felt around here. Have they been used to this operation that's proposed? Has it been going on? Are there any complaints from the neighbors? Noise,
We didn't get
traffic, anything?
We've never had, we're not aware, there's been no complaints
Right,
to us.
right.
And
You know, everything about the business sounds like it smacks of something that should be an industrial park. It's an industrial use. It sounds like it should be a 10 to 15,000 square foot building on a 2 acres or more lot in an industrial park where the neighbors are doing similar uses, an industrial. This is a residential neighborhood, so that's the purpose of my question is, has there been any problems? The local residents are saying, hey, there's too much noise or anything, but it sounds like, no, they're not.
when you hear the rest of the testimony, and if you recall, with the variance application, there is no noise. Everything that's done is done indoors. We've never had we've never had any complaints, no less a noise one. You always worry about, in industrial areas, you worry about smell. No issues with regard to smell. We're fixing refrigerators and ovens, okay? There's no smell that comes from that. There's just no environmental impact of that nature. And again, that's why, yes, it's in a residential zone, but if you recall, this property, because of the prior use, has issues with the environment, okay? And one of the things I stressed when I came before the board for the variances was the fact that to bring this property up to environmental compliance with the residential standards is impossible. There's no one going to do it. It's going to cost too much, not going to be able to sell a house. We are proposing this use, which is the lesser standard, still good, but it's the DEP standards that we're following, and we're following the commercial standards. We have already done a lot of investigation with regard to what amount of excavation we're going to have to do, what amount of remediation we're going to have to do, and once we get this approval, we've got the team all kind of lined up at the starting line to start that race. But I really can't do it now. That's why, Mr. Chairman, when you said, you know, you don't want any more delays, we don't want any more delays, because we have to start that process, or the DEP is going to come down and decide that there are issues that haven't been addressed in an appropriate manner, and that's not going to feed back to my clients. It's going to feed back to the owner, and you know that's the last thing we want to have happen.
Mr. D'Elia, do you really believe that you're going to be able to resolve the DEP issues in 30 days?
No.
Okay.
No, we're not going to be able to resolve them. I'm not going to be able to resolve them,
Okay.
but I am going to be able to get LSRP reports to the DEP, start their review process, find out what we have to do and not have to do, and then once we get the green light from them, we can start doing excavation and knowing exactly what we have to do and, you know, all the details.
Because I thought one of the bigger issues was determining how much it was going to cost to actually clean the place up.
We are, Jeff has been working on that since the day he signed the contract.
Okay.
And we have some parameters. As I'm standing here, I don't remember what they were, but we have some parameters in that regard. And there is also some grant money. This is above my pay grade, by the way. There's grants and other things that you can do to get this stuff done. One of the grants, they just increased by like 20% or something, which is to our advantage. But by the way, not to be sarcastic, the DEP doesn't do anything in 30 days. I don't know if you have any experience with it. They don't do anything in 30 days.
That's true.
So,
Thank
Mr.
you.
D'Elia.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Any other questions from
I do.
staff? Okay.
So I'm looking at this, is you have to remember is that as a zoning officer, I put him in violation for running the business. That's why you're here. So with that said, is that I do see activity out there. This is this man's livelihood. If he has cut back or ceased, which one is it? Is he cut back? That means he's still running the business. If it's ceased, then where is his livelihood coming from? Somewhere else?
I think he, let me get him to clarify that, because I think he did say both. It sounded like he said he ceased operation, but he's still doing some warehousing stuff. Jeff, come on up.
You want to put him under oath, please?
I swear or affirm the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
So the question I have is that I still see activity out there. If it's only for storage, and this is your livelihood, Jeff, is that where are you doing the repairs of the material in order for your business?
I own quite a bit of real estate in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And most of my assets, from an equipment standpoint, are here. I do have facilities in Pennsylvania, but the activity you might be seeing is grab-and-go type stuff. I haven't sold I've done service work, those types of things, but very, very, very little equipment's coming out of that property until this is all resolved. It's very difficult to operate a business. I want to be a legitimate business where I can actually advertise accordingly, and this is not the way to do it. So I've pretty much turned the tide and focusing on improving my real estate holdings in Pennsylvania and just focusing on that, which is generating very good income. It's just this property, not in my wildest dreams I would have thought it was going to take this long for it to all happen. But hopefully I answered your question.
You did. So the question remains then is that if this can only, if you're surviving now your business and you're fortunate enough to have all these other things, why is this particular site then just going to be used for storage, or is it going to be in full swing? And I guess I'm a little confused as to why your business is still intact, and mainly somewhere else, and now we're just using this for storage.
Well, when I'm comfortable with the situation here, and the only way I'm going to be uncomfortable with it is when I get all my approvals. I just feel like I've been working in the shadows, and I just feel that it's not a way to do business. But to answer your question, the equipment business is a very, it's got me that's where all my real estate came from. That's where I accrued all my real estate, was because of the equipment business. I'm excited to get back into the business, but it is a very small footprint. It's not huge, and I want to be in it. And I want to be that. To answer your question in regards to the site location, I love the site. I love the upside to the site. I like the locale. I like the quaintness of it. I want to be more of a down. I used to be in a 35,000 square foot warehouse. I don't want to ever be in that situation again. So to answer your question, small scale, and just focus on, what I'm an expert on.
Okay. That pretty much answers my question, because I know I've seen activity there. I just wanted to understand where this was at.
So what is it that is actually still occurring? I didn't quite.
I'm still doing service work. I'm repairing restaurant
So you
equipment.
are doing.
Oh, yes.
Some of the manufacturing.
Yes, and I
You don't do any manufacturing, Scott. I just want to make sure.
Under an NAICS code, the reconditioning would really be considered a manufacturing.
If you're looking at it that way, I have no problem. There's no assembly line, there's none of that stuff.
but most of that.
Solvents and welding and
There,
painting.
I'm doing very little at the warehouse facility, but I do have parts there that I do take to service work in the field. It's not there. I'm not taking a piece of equipment and repairing it at that facility. I haven't done it since from day one. Most of the stuff is remote.
But you are doing some reconditioning of things.
I haven't done any reconditioning for about 6 months.
All right. I thought you just let off by saying you are doing some reconditioning of things.
I'm doing sales, I'm not sales calls, I'm sorry. I'm doing service work.
In the facility?
No, remote,
Oh, so you're doing alcohol?
Yes.
Housed from here?
yes,
So the work's actually occurring on other sites?
yes.
And then what else occurring?
I'm not sure of I'm going in and out of the warehouse occasionally, but it's not something that it's never a scheduled situation.
And this just sort of follows up, because obviously, and I know that you had said he didn't start operating there, once he received the use variance, he started operating there properly. I think you used the term.
I believe the use at that point was permitted, and
Yeah, it was not.
I'm not going to make any.
The board approved the use variance.
Subject to the site plan.
Subject to site plan being approved, which was not done.
Okay.
So I just wanted to be clear that.
No argument for me on that, Scott.
That it is still continued, that it is without those approvals. And I guess one of the questions, and I know we may be able to ask it tonight, but we still don't have a preliminary assessment that something was a condition of being provided as part of the use variance. It's a requirement for any preliminary and final site plan application in the town. We still don't have that. That's something we've asked for during the use variance and again.
You had mentioned that to me.
So I think it's critical, will these items, because the board can also determine whether the application is even complete or not. Correct. Because those are checklist requirements. Will we get a preliminary assessment or an environmental impact statement to understand, or can you provide detailed information of the status of the LSRP information?
For me to answer that right here, right now?
Or Mr. Livingston?
Yeah, I don't know that we can. I don't know if we can, yes.
I can send all the preliminary stuff that was performed on the property. It's pretty much been status quo, waiting for this all to happen. This is going to be a major, major undertaking as soon as the site development or the site approval is done. Major, major work.
So the cleanup, I think, I don't know if it was Vince or you, Jeff, you had said that you need board approval to do the cleanup.
I don't recall that. I mean, the approvals would.
I may have said something like that. That's certainly not what I meant.
Okay.
What I meant was, you have in your letter a couple of things about cleaning up the site, okay? And one of our goals here is to get these approvals so we can clean up the site. We talked about it at the variance hearing. The catch-22 for us there is, we spend a lot of money cleaning up the site, doing the painting that you made reference to, doing the roof work that you mentioned. We do all that, and then we don't get an approval. All we've done is improve somebody else's property. And another reason why we're anxious to get this done. So these are all from a practical standpoint, not from a legal standpoint where we need the approval before we can do them. From a practical standpoint, it's not feasible, is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I understood, but.
Well, I mean, I explained it right.
So we will get that preliminary environmental assessment information. A couple of the other issues that were deferred or required by the use variance that we still don't have are truck circulation templates. Those will be provided prior to the next meeting. And those other items that were in the resolution.
Yeah, there's a lot of references to stuff that you need in your letter. And we intend to provide with all of them, unless we have some reason not to, and we'll discuss that with you, but I didn't see any real problem with much of the stuff you were asking for.
All right. Is the residence occupied currently?
No.
I think one of you testified that the site can't be brought up to residential standards.
If I'm a real estate developer and I want to build houses in an R2 zone, in order to do that at that site, I would have to bring the property up to the DEP residential standard.
I'm aware. I didn't finish my question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Knowing that the residential use is not occupied now, can the site be reoccupied by a residence if the site is not brought up to residential standards?
I will get you the answer to that because I'm not again, environmental stuff is a little over my pay grade, but my gut reaction is it's already an existing use that's there, and it's been there, and there won't be any additional requirements in order to have an occupant take possession of that property. But I will get you that answer.
Yeah, and I think having an answer either from DEP or an LSRP is critical, because I think just from the board standpoint, our recommendation is we're here to protect public health, safety, and welfare. Having somebody occupy a site that is known to have benzene and other contaminants in it, and for that to be reoccupied contrary to zoning or other environmental regulations, I think we're all doing the wrong thing here. So I think it's critical. That's probably the most critical element of this entire application.
Legitimate concern?
That was all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Any other member? No, wait, we're not necessarily finished.
Yes.
Any other
Yes,
Members?
please. So I have multi-layers question here. So the preliminary assessment that you're going to provide to us, is that what has already been conducted on the site, or is it a new current PA and potentially a site investigation? The previous, it runs with the
It's
previous?
It's
Okay,
previous.
so there's not, you're not proposing to provide us with anything current?
Nothing current.
Okay. So just to clarify, we started actually meeting with you, Mr. Livingston, back in the beginning of 2022 on an informal level, and the application was actually submitted March of 2023.
23.
So this potentially is we're running it to almost 4 years now that we've, 3 years? If we started informally in 2022,
No.
2.5, 3 years, okay.
Well, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
No, you're not getting any feedback, pushback on us.
It's been a long time. So, and yeah, the site's been occupied, and I appreciate the sentiment that, you know, the applicant doesn't want to invest any money on anything that was really not required at this point. I mean, it was discussed and conditioned during the use variance process. We don't expect a lot of that stuff to get done. However, the site's been being used by the applicant, and there's outdoor storage, and there's been some changes to the site, but that's been okay. But there's no expectation from us to have any improvements done.
One of the comments that Scott made was there's some outside storage, and it doesn't belong there, and we're going to eliminate all the outdoor storage. But it doesn't minimize the point you're making, but we're taking steps to correct that.
Okay. And I do appreciate your willingness to postpone tonight, because there have been a lot of applications that have not been complete, and it's taken a lot of the board's time. So I do appreciate that you're going to go back and make sure that everything's addressed and you have a complete application for us, so that it's a concise meeting.
I appreciate that you're considering that, because I was very uncomfortable. And I think I said that from the beginning. I'm sort of in this, I got to move this forward.
Sure.
But if I go ahead tonight, I mean, it's going to be, we're going to spend 45 minutes on several of Scott's paragraphs. And, you know, with all of this in here, trying to figure out what our perspectives are, it's just going to, it's not productive. And
It isn't.
I really do think, and I appreciate your sentiment as well.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to what our engineer and our planner has provided to you in their review letters, a lot of this stuff was discussed and requested during the use variance process. So there are things that are not new to the table and presented to you on Friday and Monday. There are things that are still incomplete that were discussed at the beginning of the year.
I understand that
Okay.
from the reports.
So can you?
Any other, go ahead, Pat.
Sorry.
Good.
Can you put everything together and tell us what you're going to do between now and next meeting, so that we can all understand how this is going to progress?
Yes. What I intend to do is meet with your professionals as quickly as I can to iron out those changes and those things that I have to do to revise the plan, to make sure that we've done everything we can. Other than those issues that we have to talk to the board about, we may have an issue that we think our way is better and he thinks his is. But in terms of tightening up the plan, putting on the notes that he asked for, making sure the notes are consistent with what our understanding is, meet with the professionals, get all that stuff ironed out. Submit the new plan in advance of the next meeting, so that, in my opinion, we're going to have a much more streamlined hearing. That's my plan.
So is 30 days a realistic goal?
3 days.
30 days, is that realistic? That you're
Yeah.
gonna get
Is
that
that
done?
realistic? Yeah. 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 Judge, having read the letter a couple of times,
Well, we
and
thought that was realistic last time we did this. And here we are having this conversation again.
when you say last time, at the variance?
Correct.
When we came in for the variance, we made the application. I felt like we were being beat up legitimately, and I called timeout. And I said, you made a lot of good points. I understand where you're coming from. And we said, we'll be back at the next meeting to answer all these things. If we have to submit something more, we came back at the next meeting, and we had what, in my opinion, was a pretty efficient hearing, because we had addressed your concerns, I intend to do the same thing here. So and again, I understand where you're coming from. This has been a, hate to use the word, it's been a slog. I mean, we're trying to get there, and we have to get there.
You had a question regards to 30 days.
Yeah.
We have a backlog of applications that had to postpone, which we're planning on November, so I don't even know if it's possible to hear this in November. So I don't,
When is the November hearing?
it's Thursday, November 7th.
Thursday?
Yeah, it's a Thursday because it's the week of elections.
Oh,
It just makes it
yeah.
easier
Mhm.
on the two of us.
We're not, we'll be comatose.
Yeah.
So we won't be able to think straight.
We'll need oxygen for you.
Yes. Because we have, it would be Thursday, November 7th is the next meeting, and then December is Wednesday, December 4th.
Okay.
So I don't know whether.
For the same reasons that you want this to move forward, it's the same reason I do.
Yes.
If you could, and I've asked for this before, and I understand you have a procedure with regard to your meetings, I would like to be on the December 7 agenda. If someone comes in and does what I'm doing right now, I mean, you had to know that my hearing was going to take 2 hours or something like that, and hopefully it be closing in on it. Then if there was another extra applicant on the list, they could have been heard. I would like to be that in pencil applicant, so that if somebody opens up, Paula, I know I told you, I had a case in Evesham many, many years ago where they wouldn't put me on the next agenda because there were 5 major applications in front of me.
Yeah.
And I begged them, and I cried, and I did everything I could. And they said, all right, we're putting you on the agenda, but we'll tell you right now, you're not going to be reached. All 5 applications were postponed.
Yeah, but there's no way for me to know it.
And there's no way for them to know it. I understood what they were saying about it. I said, put me in pencil. I'll wait all night. If I have to go home, at least I tried. And I would ask you, if you can, in the interest of all of our interest in getting this done as quickly as possible, if it's possible, to put us on, with the understanding if we're not reached, we're going to thank you for putting us on, and we'll go home.
For the, you're talking in reference to the Thursday, November 7th.
Yes. Yes, that's where I want to.
Yeah, you had said December 7th. That's why I had said, I just asked about
D-Day.
November.
Day that will live in infamy.
Yes. Yeah, he had
Yeah, no, I
said.
said, I said something like November 4th, something like that.
Well,
Well, the month and a different day, that's
We have a notice issue depending upon which of those days. Mr. Kingsbury, if this is carried to the December meeting, will Mr. D'Elia have to renotice?
Not if you announce it tonight and pass a motion scheduling it for that date, you don't have to renotice.
I would.
You may have to renotice if there's some variances that weren't noticed on the original notice.
There are, according to the planner's letter, some bulk variances that have to be considered.
And a couple of things there, and I talked with Mr. Kingsbury about this. We always, when we send out the notices, add the language, any and all other variances, waivers, and other conditions that the board may require. If you have something that's not that major. I am not sure that the bulk variance that the planner has asked for is necessarily a bulk variance. One of the issues I have to talk to him about, and I told Mr. Kingsbury the same thing. I mean, I want him to be aware that it might be a waiver condition and not a variance condition. So these are the issues I have to work out. You tell me I got if we announce November 7th, the statute provides that I don't have to renotice as long as you announce at the meeting when the next hearing is, okay? If you announce today that the meeting is going to be November 7 at 6:30, and it turns out you can't reach us, on November 7 you can do the same thing without requiring additional notice. If you feel that December 7 is if it turns out the best we can do is December 7, and I got to notice again, I'm going to notice again. It's expensive, it's time-consuming, if the board in their discretion says, notice again, I'm going to do it.
Well, Paula, what does November look like right now?
Busy.
Very busy. This, even if agreement is reached on some of the major issues, this, from experience, is easily a 2-hour hearing on this site plan.
Could be, yeah.
And I don't see any way that it's going to be jammed in to a November meeting with that list that you have.
Only if, I don't know how many applicants there are there. If 2 of them drop out, we may have the time. And that's where I'm coming from. If it turns out the night before, all these applications are going forward in full steam, and there is no way I'm going to be reached, then at least I tried.
Well, let me say one more thing.
Go ahead.
I've been on this board for many, many, many years, decades.
Yes, you have.
Yes, I have. And I know a difficult site plan when I see it.
Yeah.
And this is a difficult site plan.
This is a complicated site plan, I agree.
It's maybe one of the more complicated site plans that I've seen in a couple of decades.
Okay.
Because of all the little problems and issues that have to be resolved.
Yep.
In totality, it's not a big development site. But when you get down to micromanaging all the issues, it is. I don't see how this is going to be handled in a short meeting. And frankly, I don't see how you're going to get it ready in 30 days. That's why I think that this should be put down for December. But we mean it in December.
I have to defer to your discretion, Mr. Chairman. But you heard my argument. I'm not going to make it again.
Yeah, I don't know how other members of the board feel, but please speak up if you feel
I totally
otherwise.
Totally agree that November's really
Like I said,
untenable.
it's
Yeah.
micromanaging.
November would be very,
There's
very
a lot of little
difficult.
issues
We'd
that need to
be
be
doing the
addressed.
same business all over
Yeah,
again.
that's why I asked if 30 days was realistic. I just don't.
Yeah, I just don't see 30 days, Mr. Delia, as being realistic. But on the other hand, we got to finish this. So December has to be viewed as a serious drop-dead date. And this board will push to make a decision on the site plan, either up or down, on that day. Because we just let this, as Ms. Costco said, this has been going on.
I want that as much as you do, really. I got to have a decision on this. I got to get this done.
Now, so Mr. Kingsbury, in light of the potential for additional variances that would be needed per the planner's letter of recommendation that everybody has now talked about, is it prudent to renotice this for the December date, or you think we can simply make the announcement today?
If there are variances involved that we know about now, that weren't noticed specifically on the original application, then they should be renoticed as part of the new notice to be sent out.
Now,
Looking at the planner's letter, I agree with you that it's really a stretch to think this is all going to be resolved within 30 days. I don't think so. And I think the December date is better, and that he should renotice for the December date.
And I think also, Mr. Delia and no more, we had raised the question about the impervious coverage. I think you're going to require an impervious coverage variance as well. We had noted a question about that. So I think after Mr. Miller's office has done a calculation on that, so I think you're going to need that one as well. So I think it may be prudent based on that first.
I said I'd abide by whatever the board wanted with regard to notice, and I will.
Okay. One last item. Your client has a lease, he's in control of the property. I was over there a couple times in the last 2 weeks just to see if things change from day to day. And what struck me was the utter lack of any, shall I say, maintenance of the yard. There is, and it would be very generous to say outside storage, but there is outside storage there that looks more like a junkyard, frankly. The grass has not been cut, the weeds are high. The place, compared to the way the Rifes managed it when they were alive and ran that property, looks like an abandoned property. So it might be beneficial for your client to clean the place up in the meantime.
Thank you.
Mr. D'Elia, I'd like to make a statement as well, is that every day I drive past this property 4 times, and as the zoning official for Hainesport Township, and I take this town extremely to heart and taking pride in making sure that my
I know you do.
businesses are maintained, well cared for, et cetera. One of the biggest issues that I have right now is that when I drive by this, is not to take your client to court. It takes a lot for me not to do that because the progression in the past year, outside, as Mr. McKay just stated, has slowly grown worse. So I would agree with Mr. McKay's statement, and as someone who takes extreme pride in her town, is that I expect, not maybe, I expect this to get cleaned up sooner than later. Because I have no reservations. The board has no authority over me if I
Right.
decide to take your client to court.
Right, right, no, that's your
And
perspective.
it has literally been on the edge of my pen not to do so. So I am asking to please make sure that what Mr. McKay said and I said clearly comes to heart.
We heard you.
I appreciate that.
I really,
And I know been working with you has, for me, has been a pleasure with you.
that's mutual, and I like, I don't like what I'm hearing, but I like being told because I think there are items that could make it easier for the township and also enhance the possibility that I get all this approved because of the importance of it to us and I think to the community as well.
And what I expect, that if this application were to get approved as a preliminary and final site plan, what I expect of the client is that this is not going to be an issue for the zoning officer, myself, or any future one, and that the site is not going to look like this on a continuous basis.
And I'm sure Mr. Kingsbury is going to put something in the resolution to that effect.
Yes, I'm sure as well.
I would expect him to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn this matter until December 4th, 2024?
With the condition that we notice.
Yes, with the condition that Mr. D'Elia properly renotice for that new date.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Cosko?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Chakotchi?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, next, we'll take the matter of Mr. D'Angelo and Ms. Carnell. Case 24-20, Fostertown Road, 2430 Fostertown Road, bulk variance. Good evening, sir. You want to identify yourself and then be sworn by?
No.
Michael D'Angelo.
Sir, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give tonight will be the truth,
I do.
So, Mr. D'Angelo, you have a house, and I guess you're going to raise it and build a new house?
No, we're going to do demolition on the house, remove the existing house that's there, build a new house.
Okay, how old is that old house?
I think it was early 1900s.
Yeah, quite a beautiful house.
It is. It is, and my in-laws, it used to be my in-laws' property, and they did a great job with it, but it has many, many issues.
All right, so tell us what you want to do.
Want to knock the house down, build a new house in basically in the same location. The ordinance says a 125-foot setback, and the new house is going to be a 77.5-foot, 0.2-foot setback to the
Okay,
front.
what's the old house right now? About the same?
About the same, yes.
All right, so the new house is going to be roughly on the same
Same footprint,
setback
basically,
footprint as
yes.
the old house?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the existing.
The existing front yard is 41.
41 feet is the existing house now, 41 feet from the road.
41 feet.
41 feet. So the new property the new house is going to be 77 feet.
Considerably further back.
Yes.
Okay. And then in addition, you have a request for an additional outbuilding or garage to be built?
There's an existing three-car garage that's semi-attached to the house now, to the existing house now, that we don't want a demolition. We want to save that. Because that was built in 2011 when they did an addition on the property. And we don't want to remove that, because we want to save that for additional storage for the property. We have like farm stuff we want to do, and some woodwork and stuff we're looking to accomplish there.
And is there another garage or outbuilding that you want to construct?
There's an existing barn that's on the property also.
All right, so you're keeping the old barn, you're keeping the old three-car garage, you're demoing the house?
Correct.
And building a new house, and that's the scope of the construction?
Correct. The new house is going to have a three-car garage attached to it also.
Okay, but it's going to be integral to the house itself?
Correct.
It will be a separate garage?
Correct. The new house will have the garages part of the house, but the existing three-car garage that's there now, it's going to be separate from the new house.
I understand, Your plans show other houses in that same stretch of Fostertown Road and provide setbacks of those other houses. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do we need to mark these plans as an exhibit, Mr. Kingsbury? They're part of the application. Should we mark them as a separate exhibit?
Say that again?
Should we mark these plans that he submitted for the approvals as a separate exhibit? They're obviously submitted to us as part of the application.
Yes.
So I don't think we need to mark them as a separate exhibit.
Okay, we can mark it A1 and A2.
All right. It's 2 pages, so we'll mark it, we'll do that. We'll mark it A1 being the first page and A2 being the second page. And I wanted to direct your attention to the second page, which shows all the houses within a distance of your house on Fostertown Road. And what is that distance approximately? I mean, you live there. From the corner up to lot 8.06 is how far?
Well, what lot did you say?
Last lot on your plan, 8.06.
It's all the way to the left.
Okay.
You're asking for the distance?
Yeah, approximate, ballpark.
To me, it's got to be well over 1,000 feet, guessing.
It's more than a quarter of a mile. You agree?
20 times 80. 1,600.
1,600 feet, roughly.
1,600 feet, plus or minus.
So about a quarter of a mile, we'd say.
Yeah.
All right, and your plan accurately represents the setbacks on the buildings in that quarter-mile stretch?
Yeah, it was,
And
used
there are numerous,
aerial imagery for.
right, and there are numerous buildings that are set back less than the code mandated setback.
Yes.
Now, on page 2, it shows a setback of 77.2 feet.
Yeah.
That's for the proposed building.
Okay.
Proposed.
That's where you're going.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Like you said, the current property is 41
40,
roughly from the
40
existing house.
41.2,
So this is going to be set back further.
correct.
Right.
Still less than the 125
Yes.
required.
And in that, the footprint on Exhibit A2, the garage is going to be within that proposed building footprint? The new garage?
Correct.
Okay. Where's it going to be, on the side,
On the side.
on the,
If you're looking at the plan now, it'll be on the right-hand side of the proposed building,
okay.
Right-hand side?
right-hand side.
As you face the proposed building, it'll be on the right.
Correct,
The doors would load on the right.
correct.
Okay.
Is the garage, the separate garage, at least 10 feet from the house?
It's going to be 18 feet.
And I know you're that far away from the pool as well that's there, correct?
Yeah, and the whole reason for this is because if we go further back with the new house,
Right.
it's going to encroach upon the pool, and then we'll also have the septic and the discharge for the septic, we're going to encroach upon that.
Which they have, I've already dealt with the demo permit for this house, and the Burlington County Health Department has okayed the location of this house where the well and septic still are.
Okay, so you're constrained on the new house by the existence of a pool out back, is that what I'm hearing?
The pool and the existing septic, yes,
And this house is on septic, doesn't have sewer,
correct,
you know that. So are you also constrained by the existing septic field?
correct,
Okay. And so the placement of the house sort of dictated by that?
correct.
Do you have a well or are you on water?
There is a well, yes.
All right, let me ask the professionals, particularly Scott, our planner, any questions, comments, observations about this?
No, not really. This is pretty simple. It's, as they specified, it's actually an increase of 41.2 foot setback, and they're increasing that by probably 80% or so, up to 77.2. So it is much closer to compliant. I think that the second sheet does demonstrate that there is a similar pattern prevailing within the neighborhood. And they've also given some testimony that a hardship would really exist if full compliance with the setback had to be complied with.
Right. Thank you. Any comments by our engineer? Questions, comments from the board to the applicant before I turn it over to public comment?
So the variance then that you're applying for, if I'm correct, has to do with setbacks, and the bulk variance is for the additional garages?
That's my understanding.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think for the garages, it is to acknowledge that there is an existing three-car garage on the site, and the proposed home will also have an internal three-car garage.
Right, because we don't allow
Correct.
more than a three-car.
Right, for a total car capacity of 6, where a maximum of 3 is permitted. Correct. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Sounds like it.
I'll never say it again, Bob, sorry.
And the setback variance.
Yes.
All right, let me open this up to the members of the public. There's a few people sitting in the audience. Anyone have any comments that they wish to make, questions that they wish to ask on this application? If so, raise your hand and come on up. I'm seeing no hands raised, so I'll close the public session. For people here, Online?
No.
We have anything? Nothing.
No.
All right, we'll close the public session for both
Just a
online and
reminder,
remote.
There is no COA on this house because it's a replacement house.
Oh, that's a good point. But this is not a new dwelling, it replaces an
Correct.
old one.
Anytime that the replacement,
All right.
Unless they want to make a donation.
We'll pass. All right, Mr. Kingsbury, we missed anything on this, or can we take a vote on the two variances that have been outlined by the
We would need a
planner?
motion to approve these requested setbacks and to permit 2 garages totaling 6 bays.
May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
You have this, Paul? Roll call.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes, sorry.
Mr. Jacochi?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Costello?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes. All right, you're all set.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good luck.
Mr. D'Angelo, just to remind you too that you can't start building, you can start demoing once the permit, you can't start doing anything until. But you can, no, you can start demoing, that's not a problem. It's got to go. Right. Ms. Costco will be sending that to the applicant.
Ms. Tiver, the other
What's he
fellow.
asking for?
No, I gotta have that. You can submit it for review, I just won't release it. Okay? You're welcome.
All right, next matter on the agenda are approval of minutes for the September 4, 2024 meeting. These are pretty hefty minutes.
Yeah, I did that was the court stenographer that was here for that one case.
Yes.
And I did not want to mess with any of her stuff, so I left it as it was.
Just the transcript of the proceedings.
Oh, that was
Yes.
their transcript?
Yes,
And that was their stenographer?
yes,
Oh, so she gave it to you and shared
Yes.
it with you?
Yes.
Nice.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah, and that would be a certified stenographic record, so
yeah.
perfectly acceptable to take it at face value. Motion to approve minutes from the last meeting?
I make a motion that we approve and file the minutes from the last meeting.
Second. Second, Mr. Bradley. Roll call?
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Jacochi?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Costco?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes. So we have two resolutions, 2024-24, the first one, which is 11A on our agenda, Randolph Senior Estates. I have a motion to accept that, and accept and approve the resolution as drafted.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor, got the second?
I'm sorry, neither one of you can vote on that resolution. That was a use variance.
All right, I'll make
I'll
a
make a motion.
motion that we approve that variances.
Second.
Yes, second.
Okay. Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Jacochi?
Yes.
Ms. Costco?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes. All right, the second resolution is the Bacara resolution denying the minor subdivision approval. This is resolution 2024-23. Can I have a motion on that?
Let me explain quickly on this. There was a motion to approve. It was denied, so the people who voted no on the motion are the eligible voters.
Do you have the list of the noes? Yeah, on
Yeah,
that?
the noes are.
It should be attached.
Mrs. Torti, Mr. Bradley,
So
Mrs.
moved.
Kelly, Mayor Gilmore, Mr. Jacochi, Mr. Murphy, and Mr. McKay.
Second.
So a motion to approve the denial is
Yes.
maybe to be more
And you're
specific.
voting not on the application, you're voting on the resolution.
A resolution.
Whether or not the resolution accurately reflects the decision.
So I have a motion by Mr. Bradley, second
Mayor Gilmore.
by the mayor.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes.
Mrs. Torti?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tricoci?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes. So we have some correspondence. Any member want to look at any piece of correspondence in particular? Otherwise, I'd like a motion to receive and file.
I'll make a motion that we receive and file the correspondence.
I'm ready to read.
Second.
I'll double check it.
Okay.
Could I ask Mr. Miller, where exactly are the Hainsport family apartments?
It's on Creek Road.
Creek.
Family apartments on
Yeah.
Creek Road.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes. All right, any professional comments?
I do.
Good.
When they have some of these applications, our first application we had, they were asking for design waivers and things, there's a whole list of those. It's their right to ask for those things, and we put in our letter saying that this is what's required, and they're asking for a waiver of it. I don't know if the board wants me to comment on that and say, I don't know if I want to recommend this waiver or not, or give you some reason to discuss the thing before you decide to give them a waiver or not give them the waiver, and come in with some kind of thing. Because right now, it's just laid in your lap, and you've got to make a decision, and I don't know if it's as clear as it could be for you.
Marty, are you talking about the hypothetical failure of an applicant to put on their site plan compliance with the various checklists, checkbox items?
Well, on the checklist, like one of the checklists is that they want a waiver of impervious coverage.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, the board says, they come up and they'll say, whatever their reason why they want to have the impervious coverage. I don't have the opportunity until all the way at the end to say, I don't agree with that. Particularly like on this case right now. They've never had permits for all of the stuff. So they're assuming that what they got on the land right now is already okay or permitted because it's been there for 30 years.
Right.
It's not necessarily true because, particularly with the runoff, there's runoff off of that property all the time, and there always has been. I don't remember having any real complaints about it, but they're asking for a complete waiver of it, and they're not obligated to do anything.
Well, for example, on the other application that we dealt with earlier tonight, your letter did go into detail about the noncompliance with the checkbox items, including the drainage that you mentioned. And I, for one, member of the board, found it extremely helpful to have that information, and I, for one, would hope that you would, on an application that merited it, a large one at least, do that in every case. Now, maybe there's a small variance request like the second one we had, where that's really not necessarily needed to write a lengthy letter, but it was very helpful when it came to the Rife property.
Yeah, there's a whole, now, we're gonna straighten out a lot of these waivers that they're asking for when we have this meeting before they make the changes on the plan. One of the things that, depending on the coverage and how we agree with the coverage, they don't have to do stormwater management, so they don't have to do any detention basins or holding facilities or anything else like that. What I would recommend is that they at least take care of water quality, which is not part of the stormwater management plan. Water quality takes care of the smaller storms up to 2 or 3 years, I think a 3-year storm, and we're talking about 2-3 inches of rain. If they take care of 2 or 3 inches of rain, that's most of the rains that we ever have. And then they've already addressed that. If you get a downpour, happens everywhere, and so then, you know, it's a lesser occurrence.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into the specifics of anybody's application, because we're talking hypotheticals here. But hypothetically, I think the kind of detailed letter addressing the checkbox requirements or the applicant's failure to meet them, if that's the case, is helpful, and I would like to see it in your letters. And I want to ask the board members if they're in agreement or any comments on that.
But
I agree with that.
Marty, are you also indicating that you would like the ability to speak up, like your shrinking violet partner beside you?
Maybe I should have asked permission.
No, but you interject when you see a real reason to do so, which is, I think is important for the board.
I agree, totally.
All right? I have no problem with that.
So I think you got the green light, Marty.
Okay. And for the board, there's really just some meaning for newer board members. There's two kinds of waivers. One is a submission waiver. One is, hey, you're applying for a site plan, you need to give us a preliminary assessment, you need to give us a traffic study, you need to give us a site plan showing all these different things. So the board gets to say, no, we want those things, or we're okay not having it. This is an existing site, you know, we're okay not having those things submitted to us. And the second kind are design waivers, and that's where maybe the whole site is supposed to be curbed, but they only want to curb part of it because it's kind of a rural neighborhood. Each one of those, you guys get to ask Marty, ask me, ask the applicant, justify why shouldn't you submit this, or why don't you want to curb? And if you think you should have curb, you deny the waiver and make that curb, or whatever that issue is on whatever application. But there's sort of two separate types of waivers that we get.
All right. Satisfied, Marty? You have the green light to do what you did with the other application tonight. I think it's very helpful to the board members to do that. And it also, I found it this afternoon when I was going through that, it enables me, to cross-reference your comments with planner's comments. So, you know, sometimes you cover the same thing, but you approach it from a different direction. And then you can know that your paragraph 3 is Scott's paragraph 23, or whatever it might be. And it makes it easier to make sure we cover everything too. So, any other professional comments? Any board comments?
I have one. I'd like to congratulate Mr. McKay and Mr.
Thank you.
Canucci for
Yes.
their positions, and also to welcome our new board members, Mr. Murphy and Mr. McConnell.
Yeah.
Welcome to,
I
yes.
think all the board members would join in that.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome and congratulations.
Be ready, you're gonna get like $1 million paycheck at the end of every year.
Oh, yeah.
And when we go late, you get overtime.
Yeah, right.
Cash, please.
All right.
Monopoly money.
There are a few members of the public out there. Are there any general public comments? People having a comment or a question? If you can come up and ask. If not, Yes, sir. Come on up.
My name is Dr. Reichert, and the past 15 months, I got married, had a kid, bought a house, got a new job, and a new car. And I also bought this house on Deacon. It's 2 domes that sit on top of one another. It's 822 Deacon. And I'm here just to introduce myself. We've been there about 6 months now. And I was wondering, does anyone here know who built that house or why? Because it's 822 Deacon.
Yeah.
And it's like 2 domes that are connected in the center.
I'll bet you Kathy has some knowledge about that.
So you could do an OPRA request, stands for Open Public Records Act, and I'm in the construction office
Okay.
as well, is that you can, what do you call it, send that to the clerk's office, they will give that to me, and then I will pull the file on that, and you can come in and sit and review it and take a look at everything.
Gotcha, because it's a very interesting house, and I was just wondering
It is
if
unique.
anyone had any history on it. Additionally, I do have a doctorate in agriculture, but I've since transitioned and I heard this gentleman talk about it. I am a professional grant writer. So my father always told me to always help the community that you're in. So if anyone ever needs any help writing or submitting grants for anything, do let me know.
Wait,
Thank
what's
you.
what's your phone number?
That's why I waited till the end.
Why don't we suggest that you see Paula Costa?
Yeah. You want to see me for the Oprah
Sounds
and for the
good.
grant writing?
Yeah, I currently have a great track record with federal and state funding, so.
great, thank you.
I asked my question first to be selfish, but at the same time, please let me know if anyone needs any assistance with anything.
Well, welcome to
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank
Get
you.
that file. Get that file.
I can give you my card if you want.
That would be great,
Yeah,
please.
so,
Thank
but thank
you.
you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
nice to see you, Doctor. All right, if there's no other issues, motion to adjourn would be in order.
I just, one private note, I got a very nice phone call 2 weeks ago, I'm sure many of us did, from Mr. Goldfreiber.
I will.
Thanking us, thanking us.
We can't
I
hear
thanked
you.
him.
We
I just
can't
thought it
hear
was
you.
very nice of him to reach out to as many of us as he could and just
Yeah, I got one
to
too.
say
Yes,
thanks.
you did.
I did get a call from him as well, personal
Yeah.
call, and it's very kind of him and very thoughtful.
Yeah,
Yes.
me too.
And, he's kind of a little bit of a legend, and he'll go down as a legend, and
Yes.
that's good. And maybe someday he'll get his mobility back and maybe come back on the board, who knows?
That'd be great. All right, thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All right, we're adjourned. At a little before 8 o'clock.
All right. I was going to nominate you too, so.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess,
By the way, that
I gotta pay
comment was,
Yeah, no sleeping on the job.
that shrinking comment was sent with gloves to you.